Taylor Swift may have accidentally ruined normal concerts, not by making them worse, by showing fans how much bigger they could be. The Eras Tour turned one ticket into a 3.5-hour career retrospective, album-specific worlds, dozens of songs, costume and set changes, surprise acoustic moments, and a stadium full of people treating the night like a shared holiday. The audience received an enormous amount of entertainment. The experience changed what fans expected. After Eras, a good 2-hour concert can suddenly feel short. A focused stage can seem smaller. A fixed set list can seem less special. The music did not get worse. The comparison changed. And that expectation gap, not Taylor, is the villain here. Start with what Eras actually promised. The BBC reported that opening night ran 3 hours and 15 minutes and included 44 songs from across Taylor's career. The production used 16 dancers, multiple set and costume changes, and a long illuminated catwalk leading to a second stage. The opening configuration evolved, but the central idea stayed legible. This was not one album with a few older hits. It was a tour through distinct eras, each with its own visual identity and emotional purpose. By the final run, the Associated Press described a roughly 3.5-hour show representing 10 eras. Polestar reported 149 shows across 51 stadiums, more than 10 million tickets, and an estimated $2.2 billion in gross sales. Guinness recognized it as the first music tour to cross $1 billion, with the final reported total above $2.07 billion. Those numbers matter, but not because revenue automatically equals quality. They matter because scale became part of the story audiences told themselves about the ticket. Think of the value stack. First, runtime, enough material to feel like several concerts joined together. Second, structure, recognizable chapters rather than one continuous visual mood. Third, variation, surprise acoustic songs gave each city a moment that might not repeat. Fourth, participation, outfits, chants, and friendship bracelets made the crowd part of the production. Fifth, the online afterlife. People who are nowhere near the stadium still followed the tour through fan broadcast live streams and nightly discussion. The Associated Press described millions watching those live streams and friendship bracelets becoming an iconic feature of the shows. That meant every date could function as both a local concert and an episode in a global series. The surprise song slot was especially powerful. The BBC's opening night report called it a wildcard section with a different acoustic song each show. That tiny area of uncertainty changed the emotional math. Most of the production could remain precise and repeatable, while one portion said, "Tonight is not identical." Fans could track what had been played, wonder what was still possible, and attach a particular song to a particular city. A fixed set list is not lazy. It lets musicians, lighting crews, dancers, camera operators, and stage teams execute a complicated show safely and beautifully. But Eras made controlled variation look like part of the value. Once audiences see that trick work at stadium scale, they notice when it is absent. The same thing happened with the Eras structure. A normal tour usually promotes a current project and pulls selected songs from the catalog. Eras made the catalog itself the concept. That gave longtime fans a retrospective, newer fans an orientation, and casual viewers a simple visual grammar. You did not need to recognize every song to understand that the colors, clothes, stage language, and mood had shifted into another chapter. It was a concert designed to be read from the back row and from a phone screen, and then the concert escaped the stadium. AMC said the theatrical release earned more than $261 million globally. At that point, it became the highest-grossing concert or documentary film in theatrical history. The film did not create the tour's value, but it reinforced the benchmark. The event now had a stadium version, a cinema version, a streaming life, and an endless stream of public conversation. Eras became less like a sequence of isolated shows and more like a persistent media world. So when another stadium artist walks out with a 90-minute set, the comparison is no longer only musical. The audience may be comparing duration, staging, chapter changes, uniqueness, participation, and what survives online afterward. That comparison can be brutally unfair. A 90-minute headlining set is not inherently better. Longer does not mean better. Shorter does not mean lazy. Some music benefits from compression. Punk can hit harder without an intermission. A singer-songwriter can hold a theater with a voice and a guitar. A tightly sequenced pop show can leave the audience satisfied, before spectacle turns into fatigue. Artists also have different catalogs, budgets, physical demands, genres, venues, and touring goals. Requiring every performer to imitate a 3.5-hour retrospective would turn one exceptional production into an exhausting minimum, and Taylor did not invent long concerts or stadium spectacle. Bruce Springsteen built an arena-filling live identity decades before Eras. Jam bands made long, variable shows central to their appeal. Major pop and rock tours used choreography, costume changes, video walls, runways, pyrotechnics, and narrative staging long before 2023. Eras belongs inside that history, not above it, as if live entertainment began in Glendale, Arizona. What Eras did differently was combine the ingredients in one unusually accessible package. It joined marathon runtime, a career-spanning retrospective, album-specific worlds, rotating songs, stadium-scale imagery, internet-scale live-stream attention, and portable fandom rituals. The innovation was the bundle. Imagine each element separately. A long show can drag, a giant screen can be empty spectacle. A retrospective can feel like nostalgia. A surprise song can be a novelty. A bracelet can be merchandise, adjacent clutter. A live stream can flatten the live experience. Together, though, they made abundance feel intentional. Each element explained the others. The runtime justified the eras. The eras justified the production changes. The surprise songs kept a fixed machine feeling alive. The rituals made strangers feel like participants. The live streams turned local variation into global suspense. That is why the expectation gap matters more than the runtime gap. Fans do not literally need every concert to last 3.5 hours. They need to understand why this ticket at this price in this venue is an event rather than merely access to a performer. Eras offered answer after answer. There was the deep catalog, the changing worlds, the unique acoustic moment, the crowd rituals, and the enormous scale. The entire tour seemed to move through culture in real time. A conventional concert can answer differently. Better sound, a smaller room. Lower prices, more improvisation. A sharper set, a closer view. A band playing with no visual distraction. Intimacy can be premium. Restraint can be a concept, but at stadium prices, simply being present may no longer feel like enough. That is the lasting pressure Taylor created. Not everyone must perform longer. Not every stage needs a city block runway. Not every fan needs a costume, a bracelet, and a spreadsheet. The pressure is to make the value visible. That can be healthy. It can push artists and promoters to think harder about sightlines, pacing, and visual storytelling. It can deepen set lists and clarify the difference between a large room and a genuinely large experience. It can also become destructive. If audiences treat the most expensive, physically demanding, logistically extreme tour in history as the normal minimum, almost every other concert begins in debt. Artists chase runtime instead of pacing. Production chases size instead of meaning. Fans mistake exhaustion for generosity. The useful lesson from Eras is not that every concert should become Eras. It is also worth separating memory from measurement. Fans rarely leave a show calculating value by the minute. They remember peaks, surprises, shared reactions, and whether the night developed an identity. Eras made those signals unusually abundant. So its length felt like generosity instead of padding. It is that audiences noticed care at scale. They noticed that the back row received a visual story. They noticed the catalog was organized rather than dumped into a playlist. They noticed one rotating section could make a stadium date feel specific. They noticed the fandom had things to do together before, during, and after the show. That is a standard other artists can answer without copying Taylor. Make the night feel authored. Make the price make sense. Give the audience a reason this city and this performance mattered. Choose intimacy or spectacle, but make the choice visible. So, did Taylor Swift ruin normal concerts? No. She ruined the assumption that audiences would accept stadium prices without feeling they received an event. The risk is treating an exceptional production as a normal minimum. After Eras, would you still pay stadium prices for a 90-minute show?